Beth Nichols here again. Welcome to part 2 of our training review video. Today we're going to film one more groundwork exercise. It's called Stirrup Driving, and then we're going to go straight to our riding work. Go ahead and flap the stirrup a little bit to start. Again, this exercise is called Stirrup Driving, but we're not using the noise of our stirrup to scare our horses. Rather, it's a desensitize in motion exercise. So Laura's going to go ahead and point to start. And if the horse does not respond, she will bump her with the stirrup. Sugar went right into it. Laura, go ahead and get her to trot, please. Excellent. Now, once she is trotting, that point hand that the lead rope goes in, that drops. She makes a mistake. Laura points, she trots, and then brings the hand back to her body. And she's just flapping the stirrup when the horse is at gait. Because this is, again, like I said earlier, a desensitize in motion exercise. Two main components are your lead rope hand is your point hand. Your other hand is going to rest on the stirrup until you want to stop. When you do want to stop, you're just going to drop the stirrup, stop your feet, and go behind quarters with that body language we talked about yesterday. One more time, the exercise is called Stirrup Driving, and it's a great exercise tool that we use with all of our colts, and it's something we recommend you continue to utilize at home because it's a really great exercise because it makes your horse move their feet and integrates some desensitizing. If you're watching this and you have a horse that's come through our training program, I want to encourage you, you can still reach out to us. We don't give you your horse back and forbid you to contact us again. If you are having issues with your horse or problems with your horse, you can always get a hold of us. Our contact info is all on the website, www.fabhorsemanship.com, and we encourage you to get a hold of us if you're having problems. When client horses come through, we do our very best to provide the horse's knowledge and the people knowledge to get on the same page. So if you're having issues with any of these exercises or your horse that came through the program, please feel free to reach out, give us a call, text us, email us, and all of our contact information is up on the website. There are two main mistakes you want to avoid when you go to get on a horse, especially if it hasn't been under saddle for very long. And the first thing is going on way too quick so that your horse is startled when he feels you land up there. And the other thing you want to avoid is being way too sneaky and going, whoa, easy now, I'm going to ease over here. And you act so tense and so sneaky about it, your horse is frightened before you even make it on top. You just want to let your horse know that you're coming and be nonchalant about it, okay? Laura, go ahead and get on properly. So we do a little bounce on that stirrup, and then we'll get up there and swing the leg over. Nice and smooth, no fuss, no muss. Okay, what you don't want to do is get on so quick your horse is startled when he feels a gap. Okay, you don't want to do that. Now, obviously we've done a pretty good job with this horse. Shouldn't be an issue, but your success tip is get on slow and nonchalant enough he can tell you're coming, and don't be all sneaky and worried about it. It's not going to be a problem. Alright, there are a few differences between the way this particular horse has been trained and what you may have experienced. There's just a few differences, and if you stick to them, you're going to be just golden, and it's going to be a really easy, fun ride. The first thing is you do not kick this horse. Her impulsion cues are first you squeeze with your lower legs, and then cluck if she doesn't respond, and then if she's not responding to the squeeze and the cluck, then you would get your spanker out. Usually your squeeze and your cluck will do that just fine, and that just means to her, go faster. When you squeeze, she should move up to the next gate. You do not kick her. The second item is you're going to want to ride this horse on a really loose rein. That's what she's used to. If you really are not okay with ever riding with a loose rein and you want your personal horse to know how to ride in contact, that's fine. Just understand there is going to be an adjustment period and she's going to be confused by that at first. So throughout this video, Laura is going to be riding with a very loose rein for the most part. Sugar does not need to be managed to stay at gait or stay at speed, and there's just no need for her to be held on contact most of the time. So even on the trail, we'll get a couple of clips of Laura riding her outside. The rein is going to be loose. And if you do, for personal preference or whatever, want to train your horse to ride in contact, just understand you're going to have to adjust her from loose rein to contacted rein. Now, throughout the background of while I've been talking to you, we've probably seen Laura flex Sugar quite a few times. One thing we really hammer on our horses, to our people, is we're big fans of lateral flexion. And the reason for that is we really, really want an emergency brake to be there, and we want it to work perfectly, even in an emergency. Even if it only works semi-perfectly, when you have a lateral flexion stop, you're going to be a lot better off than if your stop is pull on 2 reins and that only works halfway. If a pulling stop only works halfway, all you've done is reduce speed on a straight line. When you have lateral flexion, if your lateral flexion stop only works halfway, you've at least contained your horse somewhat and he's not going to go charging off. Okay, so that's why we're big fans of lateral flexion. We find it works really, really well for our horses. It makes their vertical flexion easy to teach, and we found our horses like to eventually, they use that lateral flexion as a comfort mechanism for themselves, because they understand that nothing bad is going to happen to them when they're being nice and soft laterally. Okay, so now we're just going to teach you the hand movements for our flexion. Now, Sugar does also know how to stop on a 2-rein stop. The lateral flexion, 1-rein stop, flex. If I say that, this is what I mean. This stop is the one she's going to know best, and this is the one you want to use if you get in a bad situation, because this one is going to work. And even if it only works halfway, you're still going to be a lot safer and a lot better off than if you tried pulling 2 reins and it didn't work. Okay, so the steps to it are very simple. First thing you're going to do is you have both hands on the middle of the reins. Put one hand, put it on the center of the reins, and lift that hand up. Okay? Choose which side you're going to flex her on, and that hand is going to slide down about as far as you can reach without bending over. And then that sliding hand is going to pull to your hip, and the hand on the center of the reins is going to lower towards the horse's neck a little bit. When you pull this to your hip, this hand needs to lower, and as soon as the horse touches and is holding still, that's very important. These are the 2 rules you cannot break on a flex. You've pulled it to your hip, now you cannot let it go until the horse stops and touches something with her nose behind the line of her shoulder. If she touches this chunky part of her shoulder, that's cheating. We're not going to let her do that. She has to come behind this chunk of shoulder and touch anything on the stirrup or Laura's foot, the leg. She can touch the cinch, anything behind the meaty chunk of her shoulder. We're going to drop this rein and let her out of it, okay? Laura, go ahead and just flex there. Try and slow it down a little bit so people can see. It's lift, slide, pull to the hip. Remember to lower the other hand. When the horse is holding still and is touched, just drop that rein as fast as you can. Because remember, horses learn from the release of pressure. So you want to make sure you get them that release as quickly as you can when they do what you want. Okay, Laura, flex the other side of it as well, please. You want to try and keep this flex working fairly evenly on both sides. You'll notice Laura is bumping on the rein. That's what you do. You ask really nicely with a lift, slide, pull to the hip. If your horse gets stuck or doesn't come all the way, just bump on that rein a little bit, and she should come right in if you keep this practiced. There we go. The other thing to take note of is when you stop, you've done it on one side, obviously, and before you tell the horse to go forward again, you want to make sure you flex the other side as well. And this makes sure the horse does not get in the habit of stop, touch, and take off again. They know that at least one other flex is coming, and you will sometimes mix it up a bit and add extra flexes on one side or the other. But you have to do it at least the other side as well before you go straight again, and then you won't have too many problems with your horse walking off on you. Remember what we talked about the gas pedal earlier? It's just to squeeze with those lower legs and the horse will impulse easily. And then you just release that squeeze as soon as the horse goes as fast as you like. Laura's only going to let her go a little ways, and then she'll go ahead and ask for that 1-rein stop. She chose the left this time. Once the horse stops and touches, she'll let her go, but she has to stop and touch first, and then she'll flex the other side at least once before she asks the horse to go forward again. If the horse is being fidgety and not waiting, then we'll just do extra flexes. It's never going to hurt your horse to practice lateral softness. Okay, Laura, go ahead and trot whenever you feel like it. And when she accelerates from walk to trot, it's the same exact cue. It's just squeezing with that lower leg. Another thing you will notice Laura doing is giving Sugar a pre-stop cue or stop cue with her seat before she goes for the reins. So let's watch. She's just gonna ask her to trot, and then when she does decide to stop, she's gonna sit deep in the saddle and let her feet go forward a bit. She'll hold that for 3 seconds before her hands actually do anything with the reins. Okay, Sugar's being a little skittish about the jump panels in the arena here. That's all right. We'll just let her check them out and do a little desensitizing behavior, like patting her, telling her she's good, and just letting her check it out and see that it's not going to hurt her. Sugar does like to check things out for herself and make sure they are safe by her safety check. So you just give her the opportunity to do that on objects she finds scary and support her with your desensitizing and letting her know it's not a big deal. You're going to be just fine. One thing we recommend is making sure you canter at least once in every ride. Now, we canter our horses on the very first ride, on the first time we get on. And where people and horses can sometimes get in trouble about the canter is when they build up this big scary wall around it and they just never do it, they never practice it, and so it's something frightening and unfamiliar. We recommend you canter at least one time every ride and just keep it there so you can use the canter if you ever do want to. And so if something does ever spook her to the point where she canters, there's not the added fear and anxiety of being at a gait she doesn't normally use. Okay? So she knows how to canter. She knows how to canter very well. Just use it like once every ride at least, and it'll stay there so you can use it if you do want to. Okay, so all Laura's doing right now is letting you Sugar trot and then just practicing some nice soft circles. But I want you to pay attention to how Laura is cueing her to turn. These guys know direct rein. They're not neck-reined horses. And Laura's hands are just riding two-handed in the center until she wants her to turn. And then she slides one a bit down the rein and puts her hand out. Now remember, these guys are trained really hard to a one-rein stop. So if you slide down the rein and then pull it back towards your hip or towards your body, they're going to stop and flex. So when you do want them to steer, it's very important to them that you look where you want them to go and keep your hand going out. You'll notice Laura really turns and looks the directions she would like Sugar to turn. Okay? And that just really, really helps the horse have clarity about what exactly you want. Okay? And you'll notice Laura's not going to pull on her very hard. If she were to pull harder, Sugar would do a tighter circle. But she's just politely asking for the directions she wants. And there's not a lot of tension on the rein between Laura's hand and Sugar's bit. Okay, there's just not a ton there. So occasionally you'll see it come in contact. Laura's bumping just a tiny bit when Sugar gets too stiff. But there's really not a lot of fighting in there. There's not a ton of tension. You just really politely slide and lift and ask for the direction you want, and make sure you look, okay? It's really important for these that you look the direction you want them to take.